Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1992 Acura Legend. Up front is a 3.2 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Acura Legend for two reasons. First of all, I've never driven one here on the channel, so I'm always excited to bring you guys new and different vehicles. But the second reason is that this is sort of Acura's first success story here in the States. Acura was started in 1986, and they offered the first generation of the Acura Legend and the Acura Integra with the pop-up headlights that have now become iconic. But any auto manufacturer can make a car and sell it to the public. But when they get to the second generation, that's the true sign of success. And so this being the second generation Legend, success is written all over the wall. But if you would like to share your success story or maybe your flop of a vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 3.2 liter V6 under the hood. Well, that was a decently hefty upgrade over the outgoing generation of Acura Legend that only had a 2.5 liter. This vehicle now boasts 200 horsepower and is a really smooth V6. I am pleasantly enjoying the driving experience. I don't notice any harsh vibrations, which was Acura's goal. If you'll notice under the hood, the V6 is actually positioned longitudinally, which for a front-wheel drive vehicle is normally not how it is. So, very interesting how they packaged under the hood of the Acura Legend. Like I said, paired to it, 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, you could also find these with a 5-speed manual. So, a manual Legend would be pretty flippin' neat, but unfortunately, this is just the automatic. However, it's doing fine. It's shifting gears. Here at 171,000 miles, it has had several transmission fluid swaps, but overall, it's still holding up fine. Last but not least, like I mentioned with that weirdly positioned engine, this is front wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the Acura Legend? It's great. It's smooth. It's just a touch away from the smooth and elegantness that the Lexus LS400 had. That had the bigger V8, rear wheel drive. That is definitely a step above the Acura Legend, but not as big of a step as you might think. This is still a very comfortable cruiser. I step in here and my worries of the world seem to melt away, just like the road noise. Now, it is still a 90s car, so it's a little bit more agile, light on its feet. It's happy to be here, unlike cars of the 2000s that seemed like they desperately wanted to leave this planet. So I'm really enjoying the Legend, as I think Acura wanted me to. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, because we have a lot of Honda-ness in here. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. Interestingly, that this does highlight 55 miles an hour. That was a law back in the early 80s, but by the mid-80s, we weren't required to put that on speedometers anymore. And so Acura was actually founded after this law was removed, and yet they still went ahead and highlighted it. Just kind of an interesting quirk. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my audio options, and off to the right, I have my cruise control, as well as I have my horn buttons. Off to the left, I do have my cruise control and roof options. So this reminds me of the first-gen CR-V, but I do have a power opening sunroof, as well as a climate control vent over here. And moving out of the door, I have my lock and unlock, 2 different levels of memory seats, power and heated mirror options, and my window options, of which the driver's window is auto. Moving into the center, again, more Honda-ness here. We have 2 climate control vents, the hazard switch and digital clock, and our climate controls. The climate controls are very small, very concise, and I like how compact and simplistic they are. Fan speed and temperature off to the left, where to send it off to the right. Not much more that you need past that. Then we do have an aftermarket radio, because any radio in the 90s isn't going to keep up with modern stuff. But I do like the wooden surround around the radio. I think that's a nice touch from Acura. Then we do have our ashtray and cigarette lighter, a little cubby, and then we move down to the shifter. The shifter is big and chunky, pretty much exactly what I would expect out of a 90s vehicle. And then we do have a pop-out cup holder, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the second gen Acura Legend, and unfortunately it fails. Any pop-out cup holder pretty much fails, so nothing new here. Then we do have a little center console and the seats. The seats are a very, very nice plush leather. I miss this era of luxury seats. I really, really do. There's something lost. Modern Acura seats just don't feel as big and comfy as these. Maybe it's because they put the airbags in the seats. Maybe it's because leather technology has changed. I don't know. But like Doc Brown says, we have to go back. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1992 Acura Legend, and I mean, just as I expected, tons of legroom, tons of headroom. Although I do get this like leathery, vinyl-y headliner. Normally the headliners of this era were fabric. This is kind of an interesting feeling material that I didn't notice up front. I do have little hooks here. I do have ashtrays in the doors, power windows, power locks, you know, the whole thing. And I do have a little center console that is just a giant foam brick. So nothing groundbreaking back here, but this is nearly peak 90s luxury. I could just fall asleep back here. The seats are super comfortable, super cushy, and that's what I like to see. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Acura Legend. Little keyhole here. Pop it up. And as you could tell, we have a giant, giant trunk. I mean, this is one of the cornerstones of luxury vehicles, luxury sedans really, from this era. Although luxury SUVs didn't really exist at this point, so if you want to shove a bunch of things into a nice vehicle, here you are. The Acura Legend definitely delivers when it comes to rear trunk space. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the way that this Acura Legend looks. I think it's rather subtle. It doesn't quite catch your eye in traffic, but there's a sort of beauty in that. There's a beauty in subtlety, and I like that Acura has gone that direction with this vehicle. I don't know why I'm saying it like they designed it last night. This is over 30 years ago. But I like the direction that they took 30 years ago. It's understated. It's almost a stealth wealth vehicle. And I love those vehicles with all my little achy breaky heart. I also just really like the wheels. I don't know why. They're just so iconic Acura to me. And I find that really, really fun. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a second generation Acura Legend? Well, I was incredibly excited to drive this car for two reasons, like I mentioned up at the top, but also I haven't driven an Acura this old yet, and I'm wanting to break into those first gen Integras and Legends, so this is definitely a step in the right direction. But also, I recently drove an Infiniti M30. That was one of the first vehicles from the Infiniti brand that started around the same time. And so this era has sort of been on my mind recently, and I think it's really cool. So while the first gen debuted back in the mid 80s, Acura decided it was worth it to switch to a second generation for the 1990 model year. And that's this generation, albeit this is a 92, but you get the picture. And it's cool to be driving something that was such an achievement for Acura. I have to imagine that in their boardrooms when they were discussing this vehicle and they got the green light to go for a second gen, they probably looked at each other like, huh? It's like when you have a sleepover with your friends and you accidentally punch a hole in the wall. So you put like a picture or a poster to try to cover it up. And then your mom or dad or aunt or uncle walks in and they don't notice that there's a hole in the wall and you got away with it. That's what this car feels like. It feels like Acura got away with something. They got the green light when they really might not have been expecting it to. And these cars sold really, really well until they didn't. The later 90s, it was kind of an outdated platform, and so they did start to lose some sales. Where then, they unfortunately didn't renew this for a technical third generation. Although, the Acura Legend did live on here, just under the RL name, and then later the RLX, and unfortunately I don't have any footage of like an early 2000s RL, so you're stuck with this late 2000s one. which was rather rare, and I'll leave at the end of this video, but I digress. Honda did something very, very right when they started producing Acura as its own brand. And the effects of the Legend are still felt to this day, with Acura being a very prominent luxury brand in the United States and now abroad. And now, 30 years later, this vehicle has 171,000 miles on the original engine, original transmission. It looks fantastic for its age, and so I guess the saying is true. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Chase for letting me take out his Acura Legend. I was so excited to drive one of these. It's been one of my bucket list cars for a very long time. Chase has been an absolutely amazing host. He's been a great asset to the channel that I could finally bring you this vehicle, and so that is all thank you to Chase. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.